Welcome back to part 4 of our exploration of Akāl Ustati. And again, this is kind of a conceptual exploration of Akāl Ustati. We are not going to be diving into depth about the meanings of different words here. I will try to kind of explain some of that as we go through it. But if we looked at part 3, the last edition of this series, we were looking at the Savaya. And in the Savaya, we see a reorientation away from certain types of practice. Guru Gobind Singh is kind of pushing us, the reader, the listener, towards a loving or devotional practice with the divine, away from what Guru Gobind Singh is calling Kur Kriya, right? He ends this verse with these concluding lines. Something, kind of a key note in Akāl Ustati, the concluding lines of these lengthy verses are really important, because after traversing certain ideas and certain types of practice, Guru Gobind Singh then concludes most of these verses with kind of his main takeaway, his main punch, right? So here he says that most people have not, subjug, the entire world has not understood, the real essence of the divine, and he states what that is here, that one can kind of understand or experience the divine through a loving devotional practice, right? Sach kaho, I'm saying the truth. Sunale ho everybody. Listen to this. Jain prem kiyo, those people who have performed devotional practice with affection. Then he prabhayo, those people have obtained the divine. So in the previous verse, he explores what is the divine, right? He explores all these different types of, some people are doing X, some people are doing Y, but at the end of it, Guru Gobind Singh states that across all time and space, Sarabkal, Sarvator, Ek se lagat ho. That to me, it seems that through all time, across all time and all space, I only see that one, right? And we're seeing that across even kind of opposites, right? And perceived good and bad as well. So here he says, Kahun badadet, somewhere you are kind of bestowing boon, badadet. Kahun chalas yon sanai let. Other places, you are with deceit or deceitfully kind of taking away things from people, right? But Guru Gobind Singh is saying, it doesn't matter whether that is the good or the bad, perceive the good or the bad, I see the divine in everything. So those two ideas are really important for us to keep in mind as we traverse Akāl Ustati. You have this devotional aspect to it, which is kind of the main thrust when kind of speaking about other types of ritual or action, that you could perform those actions, but if you frame it within a devotional practice, only then is it the opposite of fokut. Fokut is an idea and a concept that we're going to look at. Has its roots in earlier writings from Guru Nanak Dev Ji. Bhagat Beni as well does this. And it basically means that without essence, right? That without kind of seed, or that without any ras, right? So this is really important, because this ras, this experience, this taste, is that taste of devotion, right? So I'm just setting it up here because at the end of this verse, we're going to see how this is relevant. But Guru Gobind Singh starts this verse speaking about what the divine is. And he says, Toya Prasad, this invocation, that with your grace, I am reciting this Tomar Chand. Tomar Chand, if you want to look up chands, you can look up this on citygranth.org. On City Granth, you will see, if you plug in Tomar, it will spit out kind of the characteristics of the chand, and it will show different variations as well. So you see, there's a variation here, there's a variation here, etc. So this is also interesting that in Guru Granth Sahib, you also have this Tomar Chand being used. Here he's citing Guru Arjan Dev Ji, but Guru Nanak Dev Ji also has recited in Tomar Chand. Although the Sirlek, the heading is not there. That is a convention in Ath Guru Granth Sahib that is not used, but in Dasam we see this convention used where they speak about what meter is being used. So Guru Gobind Singh starts defining or kind of speaking or praising the divine, saying that he is without, Hari is without, Janam Maran Bihin, is without Bihin, life and death. Like we have in Mool Mantra, it says Ajuni meaning without birth, outside of the June cycle. And here we have Dasachara Chara Prabhin, Das 10 4 4 Prabhin. That is, the divine is Prabhin, he is Napun, he's skillful in the 10 4 4, the 18. The 18 what? You have different Vidyama, or you have different types of paths to knowledge. And this is spoken about in various types of Indic texts, and some Indic texts kind of differ in terms of what is considered one of these. So in this categorization, in this translation, we have one of them is Char Ved, the other one is Che Vedang. The Vedang are kind of elements to help understand the Vedas. So for example, you have phonetics, you will have poetics, you will have astrology is one of them, etc. So you have 6 of those. Then you have different types of philosophical schools. You have Mimamsa as one school, and Nyaya is another school. You have the Purans, and the Puran as a kind of as a group is an insane amount of texts, right? You have the Simritiyan, Aryaveda, Dhanurveda. So sorry, Simritiyan are going to be types of texts which relate to Dhanam Shastra, or you could say, prescriptions, what to do, what not to do. Aryaveda are going to be these texts related to health. And Dhanurveda is going to be related to military practices. Gandharva Ved is going to be musicality, and Niti Shastra is going to be political science, essentially. So you might ask, where's Guru Gobind Singh mentions Kok Shastra a lot. Kok Shastra or Kama Sutra, these types of texts would be considered by some as falling under the Aryaveda texts. So you'll see that in explanations when you read explanations of this. But again, this is just in praise of the divinity, saying that the divinity is, Parveen is skillful in all of these types of ways of knowledge. Again, so no, single man could possibly have read all of these, right? So he again continues with this praise of the divine, saying Akalank Rup Apar, that the form of the divine, which is endless, is without any blemish. A is a negation here, and then Kalank means a blemish. Anna Chija Tej Udar, again this means very vast, and Tej means like glory, and Anna Chij means that which is undestroyable, that cannot be killed. Anna Pija Rupadarant, that it's very difficult to find his Rup, Hari's Rup, which is Anna Pij means without, Pij means without kind of being submerged or being affected. So this is kind of relating to his ability to be kind of nirlep, right? Kind of like a lotus flower which remains above the water, or like a certain type of bird which can go in the water and remain kind of, remain free of being submerged in water, right? Can get out of water, is not, Vij is not kind of made wet by that. So he's unaffected is how they have translated it. Sab Jagata Bhagata Mahant. And he is the Mahant, he is the leader, he's the Shromani of all the Bhagats in the world, of the entire world. Sab Jagata, Jagata meaning world. Jasa Tilaka Pu Pretapan. Now this could be separate here. Preta means adar or support. So the divine has kind of a tilak, he has a insignia of glory, of just, of praise. And he is Hari is the support, Pret, of the earth, the Pu, and the Pan of Suraj as well, of the sun. Dasachar Char Nadan. And again, we have Daschar Char, right? 18. Nidan. He's the treasure of the 18. You could say this as sciences, as we were talking above, as these kind of paths to knowledge, Vidyama, or you could say the Siddhya. So Siddhya are different types of powers that yogis, or at least Natha yogis, were striving for. I had mentioned them earlier on the series. And again, we see Akalank Rup Apar, that the endless form of the divine is without any type of blemish. Sabalok Sok Badar, that he takes away, Hari takes away Sabalok, everybody's, the entire, populace, their Sok, their type of pain. Badar, he's just the one who takes that away, who destroys it. And Hari, or Paramatma, is Kalakal Karma Bheen, he is Bheen, he is without. The Kalakal Karam, essentially the actions of Karam Kand in Kaljug. So this is really important because you can view these sections as kind of pointing away from Karam Kand actions. Now Karam Kand actions mean, Kand just means the chapter. So in Indic let's say, hermeneutics or an Indic kind of way of thinking about different aspects of the philosophy, you have one chapter related to action, and they're going to call that Karam Kand. And most people associate that just with ritual action without any type of proper intention behind it. I mean, that's how Sikhs have understood that term more recently, right? As a very negative. It's not necessarily a negative, but we're going to see how Guru Gobind Singh says that without having this intention of devotion behind any type of action, that all of it's useless, right? And he's saying also Paramatma is devoid of that. He's beyond, in a sense, any type of ritual action. Sabha karma dharma praveen. But yet, in the next line it says, he is praveen, he is skillful in all types of karam that are related to righteousness, dharma, right? Anakhand, he's unbreakable. Atol, he's immeasurable. His pratap is all of these things. He's unbreakable and immeasurable. Sab tapyo jehetap. He is basically the one who is tapyo, everything he has established which has been established. So he is the establisher of everything here. Anakheda Ped ached. So ached means he cannot be cut, he cannot be divided up, the mystery of it. And also, so if you come to a section like this where he says khed toret, and you're going to say, okay, what? That doesn't really help us because we don't know what khed means. Now, khed can mean peed, or it can mean any type of, let's say, so if you plug it in, you can always just reverse this and say, okay, if unkhed doesn't come up, you just put khed there. So again, as I was saying, it means peed, meaning affliction or sorrow or suffering. So that's how you should go about in kind of deciphering some of these words that you're unaware of, or that the Tika does not provide a full explanation of. So he is without any types of suffering, and you cannot kind of understand or cut up any type of mystery of the divine, right? Mokchar Gawat Bhed, and this is what the Mokchar, the four-headed one, who is Brahma, sings, right? That the divine cannot be known, and he is beyond suffering, right? Dukhantoret. Je Net Nigam Kahant. So Nigam is going to be Vedas, and which the Vedas say Kahant is Net, meaning he is beyond this, he is beyond that, he's beyond any type of definition. Mokchar Bhakta Beyant, and the Brahma, who's understood as creating the Vedas, he as Bhakta says this, that the divine is beyond, he is without any limit. This is this Net, right? He's beyond the beyond. Anapij, again, he's unaffected, he is beyond any type of measure, and that is his pratap. So his pratap is unaffected by anything, and it is immeasurable. Anakhanda, it cannot be broken. Amit, it cannot again be measured. Atap, he's the one who has not been established. Tap or tapana means to establish, and atap means that which is unable to be established, right? That which is by itself emerging, like Sayapang in Mool Mantra. Jekina Jagata Pasar, which has Pasar, has spread across the whole Jagat, or who has created the expanse of the entire Jagat, the world. Rachyo Bachar, which has created Bachar. This is all types of contemplation or consciousness. Rachyo, which has created, right? Ananta, endless or infinite. Roop Akhand, his indivisible or his unbreakable form is infinite. Atol Pratapa Prachand. Prachand means very powerful or glory. It means his pratap is prachanda and it is immeasurable. Je Andrite Brahmand, which has created basically the cosmic egg and the entire universe. This is Indic mythology coming in here, which is saying that in some Indic mythology at least, they conceive as a world kind of starting from this egg and then kind of expanding into this Brahman, this entire universe. Kinesa Chodeh Khand, and also you have it divided up in Chodeh 14, Khanda meaning realms. So Paramatma is that one who has kind of created the entire universe, right? And again, as I mentioned before, this does not necessarily mean that the Guru subscribes to Indic mythology in the sense of he believes that there's 14 worlds, because at times you have alternate, mythology and Indic texts sometimes differ. Sometimes they relate to each other, but also Guru Gobind Singh takes from Islamic mythology as well, or cosmology, right? So the point of these lines, I think, is that the Guru is saying that the divine creates the world. However you want to divide up the world in different divisions, understand that Paramatma has Sabkina Jagat Prasad, has kind of expanded the entire universe across. Abhyakta Roop Udar, Abhyakta Akathri, cannot be even talked about, right? His vast form, Udar form, cannot even be talked about, right? It's beyond. Jay Court Indra Nirpar, which has created Paramatma, which has created so many court, millions and millions of Indras and kings, right? Kai Brahma Bisan Bachar, who have created Paramatma, which has created Kai Brahma Bisan Bachar, so many different types of Brahmas and Vishnus, etc. after consideration, Bachar ke. Kai Ram Krishna Rasul bin Bhagt ko na kabul. Now this is a really important line, because again I was talking about this is a reorientation away from certain deities and an orientation towards, kind of a pointing towards a certain type of practice. And he's even saying that, there's so many of these Rams, there's so many of these Krishnas, and Rasul meaning Muhammad's, right? Rasul literally means that which has kind of been sent down for the purpose of liberating people, etc., like Hazrat. And Guru Gobind Singh is saying that, all of these Islamic and Indic, these deities have been sent down, but Bena Bhagata ko na kabul, but without bhakti, without a devotional practice, they are not ko na kabul. Nobody's accepted, right? So if these are of any worth, it's only because they have pointed us towards a certain type of devotional practice, right? And again, that is really instructive for Sikhs, or those listeners and readers, that what makes these types of people also important is because they had a devotional practice, right? So again, what does that say to the listener and reader? Is that devotional practice is paramount, right? Not certain deities, right? So devotional practice is, again, something that Guru Gobind Singh is going to be pointing us over and over again towards, right? That there's so many of these things, right? But what is really important is the devotional practice. Kei Sindh Bind Nagindra, Kei Mach Kach Panindra. There's so many different types of mountains and oceans and different types of deities, Macha, Kacha, Phaninda, Sheshnag, and Kach Avatar and Mach Avatar. These are different types of avatars of Vishnu, and this is Vishnu's basically sleeps on Sheshnag, and Sheshnag is known for his devotional practice as well. But Guru Gobind Singh is saying there's so many of these things, right? It's endless. Kay Dev Adakumar. By saying that, what is it doing? It's saying, like, essentially, these things are not necessarily important, right? And what is important is one's personal practice, devotion to Paramatma. Kay Krishna Bisan Avatar. There's so many avatars of Krishna, of Vishnu, etc. Kay Indra Bar Buhar, that there's so many types of Indras, and there's so many people basically sweep at his door, at his bar. Kay Ved or Mukchar. There's so many Vedas. There's so many Brahmas who recite the Vedas. O means and. Kay Rudra Chudra Swarup. There's so many types of appearances, very frightening appearances of Rudra, of Shiva. Swarup means form. Kay Ram Krishna Anup. There's so many beautiful forms of Krishna and Ram, etc. Kay Kok Kab Pananta. So there's so many types of Kab or Kavya, poetic compositions about Kok, Shastra, meaning about kind of the erotic arts. Kay Beda Peda Kahanta. There's so many types of Panant means kind of spoken of. Part of the Han. So many people read these types of erotic texts. Kay Beda Peda Kahant. So many type of people say all the different type of aspects within the Vedas. Kay Sasa Simrat Bakhan. So many types of people say Bakhan, the Simratis and Sasra, all these different types of Indic texts. Kahun Kathat Hi Soparan. So many people are doing katha, are kind of performing discourses of the Puranas, again, Indic type of texts. Kay Agnihotra Karant. So many people do fire worship, like Vedic fire worship. Okay, Ord tap durant. Other people like yogis, Ord tap durant. Ord means upside down. Tap, like tapasya, durant. So many people perform this type of austerity, like these yogis or ascetics, basically hang themselves upside down on a tree essentially and try to perform meditation that way. Or the baha sunyas, so many type of sannyasis or types of ascetics raise their hand up, right? So they constantly have their hand raised, and in doing that they essentially let the arm disintegrate through atrophy. And if you type it on the internet, you might see that. Ord means upside down or kind of raised. Bahu means arm. So these types of ascetics are doing all that thing again to kind of really burst through their mind, right? To kind of contain their mind. They're trying to use all of their force. They're trying to collect all this type of tapas, this type of power to control their mind, right? By doing these physical austerities. But again, we're going to see Guru Gobind Singh is reorienting away from that. He's going to say that actually devotion is the most important. Kahu yoga pes udas. So many people, or at some people, try to adorn the pes, the uniform of yoga or of ascetics. Kahu nivli karam karant. Some people try to. Nivli karam is a type of ascetic practice, a yogic practice, where they essentially try to purify their intestines, and they put this cloth through their mouth or through their nose, and they kind of make sure it goes all the way out through their intestines, one side to the other. If you want to Google this, actually you can Google it, and you'll see how fascinating that is. I mean, Guru Gobind Singh mentions it, and there's other types of practices where if you Google it, you'll find it. I'm not going to Google it now. I was trying to Google it. It's basically they take this cloth and they put it through their mouth or their nose, and they kind of take it out the other end, where things come out after you put things in your mouth, and try to cleanse it that way, kind of pulling on the string, etc. Again, this is talking about yogic type of practice, where so many people try to very difficultly durant live off of by consuming just air, right? So yogis had this idea that they could live off of just consuming the air, right? They're basically fasting all the time. Some people go to pilgrimage sites and perform dan endless, they give out so much amount in charity. So many other types of people perform jaga, or in this sense it doesn't mean the world, it means yag. It means types of essentially like langars, like charitable feasts, and in that way kind of giving charity to people. These beautiful fire sacrifices are performed by so many people. Some people are performing all types of, let's say, political action beautifully. Some people are performing practices in accordance in the riti of the simritis and the shastras. And other people are performing practices that are exact opposite to the Vedas. So people of other faiths or maybe other traditions. Other people, there's so many people, he's saying, so many people roam around Farant, across all types of regions, right? Again, ascetic practice where you don't stay in one place for over 3 days, right? So you stay in one place and you keep moving. So in this way, you remain ever detached. But Guru Gobind Singh is saying all these people, essentially, it doesn't matter. Other people, so many people just stay in one place their whole life and they just live there. Some people within water, they perform karta jap, right? So some people in India, these ascetics would stand in flowing water, very cold water as well, and they perform jap, or they perform recitation of Hari's name there. And what will they be doing? They'll kind of endure this pain, this tapasya on their body, right? Or heat on their body. There's two ways to interpret that. Kahun bas bane karant. Some people make their bas. Some people make their residence in forests. Kahun tap tane sahant. Other people endure such pain of heat on their bodies. Kahun grista taram apar. Some people follow the path apar, kind of endlessly, performing the duties of grist, of kind of a family life or householder. Kahun raj rit udar. Other people are performing the duties, the rit of a raja, and greatly kind of fulfilling their purposes there in terms of ruling. Kahun rog rehet aparam. Some people, without any delusion, without any, with kind of full faith, remain without any pain, right? This again, now it's going to be talking about, again, all different aspects of divinity and also people and what they're going through. So some people are totally without illusion, without any rog, and this can mean spiritual rog as well, spiritual pain. Kahun kart akaram. So some people are performing good actions and bad actions, right? Forbidden actions are being performed by these people, right? So you have these oppositions, again, like in the previous verses, right? Perceived good and bad. Kahun Sikh Brahma Swarupa. Other people are like sheikhs or Islamic priests. Other people are like Brahmins who have the form of that. Kahun Neet Rajanup. Somewhere there is the beautiful kind of unique form of politics which is getting played out. And another way to interpret these lines is somewhere Paramatma you are without any type of delusion, you are free of pain. In other places, Paramatma, you are the one who is performing akaram. Kartak, performing, karam, the actions of akaram, of bad action. So you get these oppositions, right? And Paramatma, you yourself are performing these within these types of people, right? Somewhere Paramatma, you are within the form of the sheikh, the Muslim sheikh. Other places, you are the Sarup, you are the form of Brahmins. Other places, you are divinely and kind of beautifully performing the practices of a king. And some places, Paramatma, you are rog sog bhin, you are without any type of pain or sorrow. Kahun ek bhagat adeen. This is a beautiful line where it says, somewhere you are adeen to only one bhagat. This is a line Guru Gobind Singh is basically making an ashara to Guru Granth Sahib. Within Guru Granth Sahib, there is this understanding, there is this concept that the divine is only a deen, is only subservient to who? The Bhagat, the one who is kind of devotionally, and affectionately kind of performing devotion to Paramatma, right? So this is kind of an ishara to that, the divine is totally free and, not bound by anything but, following his devotee. Kahu Rank Raj Kumar, that's someplace, Paramatma, you are, a very young prince essentially, and somebody who is rank, who is poor. Kahun Ved Vyas Avatar. In other places, you are kind of this divine Ved Vyas, who is the avatar of Ved Vyas. Ved Vyas is somebody who is associated with the creation of all different types of philosophical texts in India. Kai Brahma Ved Ratanta. Other places, some people are reciting Ratanta, reciting Brahmins, Brahm here, the Vedas. Kai Sheikh Naam Uchanant. Other places, sheikhs are reciting, Muslim sheikhs are reciting divine name like Allah, etc. Bairag Kahun Sannyasa. Other places there are renunciates, sannyasis, and bairagis. These are different types of renunciates. Kahun Firt Roop Adas. And they are basically Kahun Firt, they're kind of roaming around in this form of renunciation, right? And again, after traversing all of these different types of practices and different types of people, Guru Gobind Singh is going to end with this verse saying, Saba karma fokat Jan, that understand Jan lo, understand that all action is fokat. Saba tarma nefalman, that all action is without any type, all of this action is without any ras, without any type of flavor, right? Because that flavor comes from devotional practice, right? And all of that, sama tarama nefalaman, understand all of that kind of righteous action, understand man, that is fruitless. It is fruitless without what? Bin ik nam adar, without the support of that, without framing that action, right? Within the ik nam, within the one devotional practice. Nam can mean Hari's name. but it can also refer to a broader practice, not just taking the name, but also kind of performing devotion to Hari. Without that frame of that, Sab karam parama bachar lo, understand that all of that karam is basically illusionary, is without any worth, right? It is essentially, as they say up here, fruitless. It is nefal and it is forkert, right? So this is really important because it not only teaches us, what the main focus is when Guru Gobind Singh is kind of saying, there's so many Rams, there's so many Krishnas, there's so many Muhammads, etc., Rasul, but without bhakti, they are not pravan, right? That it is through, they are not accepted without devotional practice. It is through a devotional practice that they are accepted, and you too you should be aware of this, that you can do all these different types of things. You can recite the Vedas, you can even recite the name of Hari and all that, but again, if it's not framed within a devotional practice, right, if it's not on top of, if the foundation is not a devotional practice, then it is all useless, right? So again, it's not saying that the things that are mentioned above are useless in and of itself, right? But just by itself, essentially, without framing it, without kind of putting it on top of the foundation, the adar of bhakti, then it serves no purpose, right? Then it is just essentially a waste of time, or even worse, it is bakand, or it's kind of it's showing off, essentially, right? Which is only further reinforcing this idea of myself, of I-ness, ahankar, as opposed to kind of seeing Paramatma in everything. Now, within Akāl Ustati, you're going to have this play between going back and forth between a devotional practice and seeing the divine in everything, and a devotional practice and seeing the divine in everything. And the next verse, before we get to the next verse, I will show you how this is related to Akāl Ustati, or so how this is related to Asadivar. In Asadivar, we have this Shabad here, Pada Pustaka Sandhya Badang, Sil Pujas Bagal Samadang. And this is actually in Akal Chand, if you want to look it up. Again, so these chands are used in Dasam, they just don't get mentioned in Ad, but if you know the chands, you will begin to be aware of their use in these types of passages. But essentially, Guru Nanak Dev Ji is talking about these Brahmins who are reading these books, who are performing the worship and sitting Bhagala Samadhang, who are performing their meditation like a stork, sitting there all still with their eyes closed and all that, just showing off. Mukchu, they're lying from their mouth. Papu Khanasarang, and you're adorning yourself with all these. And you read all these different types of prayers, the Gayatri prayer, Trepal Tihal Bacharang, Galamala Tilak Lalatang, you put tilak on your forehead, you have a mala around your neck, you have a rosary around your neck, you have a toti and a turban, essentially. Doe Toti Basar Kapatang, Je Janas Brahman Karamang, if you knew the karam, right, if you knew the action to Janas, to understand Brahm, the divine, right? Then you would understand Sabafokra Nisjo Karamang, that all this action is Nisjo. You'd understand properly that it's all fokert, it's all without use, right? They have translated this as it's in vain. Again, fokert means Sar Tehret. It means it doesn't have any essence, right? It doesn't have any ras, it doesn't have any flavor, right? Then Guru Nanak Dev Ji kind of concludes this saying, that Guru Nanak Dev Ji says this with great, faith and understanding that without the true Guru, nobody vajna pave, they don't find the way, essentially, right? And the way is what? Je Janas Brahman Karmang, the way to understand Paramatma is through this Ek Naam Adar, right? This is over and over again in Guru Granth Sahib. You have this, and just how you have, for example, in Guru Granth Sahib, across different authors, Guru Nanak Dev Ji, Guru Angad, Guru Amar Das, Guru Arjan Dev Ji, etc., Guru Ram Das, you have the same light, you have the same message being sent in the Bani. In the same way, Dasam Granth and the writings of Guru Gobind Singh, here you can see how they parallel and how they kind of match in the exact same flavor. Although they might seem, because of the metering and some of the language, to be quite different, in essence and flavor they're very quite similar. So in the next Chand that we look at for the next episode, we're going to see, again, we're going back to Guru Gobind Singh's understanding of the divine and his seeing the divine in everything. As I mentioned in the second verse, we looked at Sarvakal, Sarvathor, Ek Se Lagat Ho, that across all time and space, Guru Gobind Singh sees divine as one. And we're going to see that very vividly here in this next, where Guru Gobind Singh says, Jale Hari, that Hari is in the water, he's in the land, Tale Hari, Ure Hari, Bane Hari, he's in the forest, he's in my heart. He's everywhere, essentially. And it's basically going to conclude with this kind of this exploding of kind of praise of the divine. We're saying like, Tuhi, 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 like you are everywhere, you're here, you are there. And then this goes on for several verses. So that's where we're going to pick up next time. And I'd like to thank everybody who's joining in.